Well, good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning for me anyway. I'm in a region of Greenwich Mean Time +2. So I'm not sure where you are, but for me, it's mid-morning. And today we're going to be looking at the week ahead for things like Forex. And we're going to be looking at gold, oil, Bitcoin, and we'll look at a stock index as well, the most famous stock index, which is the US500. We're going to be looking at possible trades. And first of all, we're going to look at the news. Not that I pay much attention to the news, because usually you find with the news, people are saying things like, if this happens, then that might happen. But on the other hand, if that happens, then this could happen. Not much help when people are saying if and could and but and maybe. Doesn't really tell you much, but that's pretty much how the news is. It's not much help to anybody, except themselves, of course, because they get a lot of people come and read the news, and then they can sell the space to advertisers. So that's really what the news is. It's more about advertising revenue than it is about offering anything of real help. So we'll have a look at the news, and we'll also have a look at the coming economic announcements, because those can make quite a big difference to the way an instrument, a financial instrument, or a Forex pair can move. However, I have found that if one of these financial instruments, including a Forex pair, if they're in a nice, strong trend, maybe in hourly or 2 hourly or 4 hourly, not much is going to happen unless it's the most unusual announcements. Now, things like interest rates can have quite a big influence on the way a financial instrument is heading. It can turn it around, but it would have to be a rather unexpected one. Now, just to give you some idea, about 10 years ago, the Swiss bank wasn't expected to make any changes to its interest rates. And so everybody was just lulled into a false sense of security. And then the Swiss bank made some very serious changes to its interest rates. And it threw the markets into absolute turmoil. And I mean turmoil. I mean, the price just shot. I can't remember, shot up or shot down, but it jumped over everybody's stop losses. And it caused a couple of brokerages to go bankrupt. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. So that can happen, but it's unusual. And it usually only with things like interest rates. So anyway, we're going to have a look at some of the coming announcements, the economic announcements. And then we're going to look at some of the charts to see if there's anything that tells us which way price is going. Okay, so let's have a look at the news. Now, nothing really helpful in the news. I looked at a few news sites. I looked at investing.com. I looked at FX News, and I couldn't really see anything of any particular help. When I looked at the upcoming economic calendar, I saw a few things that we need to look out for. For instance, on Wednesday, 6 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, it looks like the UK CPI, the Consumer Price Index report, will be coming out, and that can have quite an effect, depending on, of course, just how different the figures are to the expected figures, but that would be worth watching. And then at 2:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday, Greenwich Mean Time, we've got oil inventories, and that can affect the way that the charts are going to move. For instance, if oil inventories are very low, it could signal a rise in price, because if demand exceeds supply, we always find price goes up. So that might be worth watching. Then on Thursday, we've got some interesting ones. For instance, 12:30 Greenwich Mean Time, we've got jobless inventories, which well, can have an effect. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Greenwich Mean Time, we've got USD home sales. And if the figures are very different to what's expected, that can have an effect on the US dollar. And then Friday, we've got also for the US dollar, 12:30 Greenwich Mean Time, we've got Consumer Price Index, and that can be quite a big one. At 12:30, and then at 2:30 or 2 o'clock, sorry, we've got new home sales. So Friday might be one to watch. So I'll just go over those again. 12:30 Greenwich Mean Time, we've got CPI for the US dollar, or the US economy anyway, and we've got 2 o'clock, and that's Greenwich Mean Time, we've got new home sales. Something to look at and watch to see how it affects price. Okay, so let's start off looking at the dollar index. Now, the dollar index is a chart of how the dollar is comparing to the other major currencies of the world. And we're seeing some interesting things here. I'm going to share my chart with you. Give me a moment. I'm having a bit of trouble getting it showing. So just give me a moment. Okay, here we go. All right, hopefully you can see it now. And you'll see that this is a daily chart, and price has been coming down in comparison to the other major currencies of the world. So basically the US dollar is weak. And it came all the way down from here, down to here. And then in the last week or so, it's gone up again. But you'll see where I put these red marks, you've got some interesting support and resistance areas. For instance, now, on Friday, that was where the price was there, and it was heading right into a strong resistance area. So most likely it will come down. You've got that resistance area there, and you've got a support area here where price bounced along there for several days. So it's really in a channel, and difficult to say what it's going to do, but the most likely scenario is that it'll bounce off the top there and start coming down, and possibly bounce on the bottom there after a few days. But we'll have to see. We'll have a look next week and see what it actually did. So let's stop sharing that. And let's go to the EURUSD and see if we can see anything that will tell us which way the EURUSD is going to go. So I'm going to open that chart and share it with you. I'm just going to stop my recording for a moment, and then I'll come back. Okay, now I've got my EURUSD chart up and ready to show you. Of course, the EURUSD is the chart. It's the currency, the most traded currency around the world. So let me share my screen with you. And okay, I hope you can see it here. All right, so let's have a look now. I started off with the weekly, so let's have a look at the weekly chart and see if it tells us anything about where price is going. So you'll see here, this was the last few weeks. Each candle represents a week's price movement. Now, I can't see much of an indicator here. It's trading right into the daily 10 moving average. So it's unlikely it's going to go above it. It could, but it's unlikely. It's more likely to come down to the 20, because these are fairly strong on the daily. They're fairly strong support and resistance. So I'm estimating that the EURUSD will come down for the next couple of days, or at least one day, down to the blue line, which is the 20 EMA moving average. Now let's go ahead and have a look at the daily and see if the daily tells us anything. Well, that was Friday's candle, and that is a pretty bearish candle. It's not that bearish, but you usually find that where you've got a red candle like this with a nice big pin, it's an indication that price is coming down, which is what I said earlier when I looked at the weekly chart. Now, up to now, today, not much has happened. Possibly something will happen when the New York market opens in a few hours' time. So let's go to the 12-hour and see if the 12-hour tells us anything. Well, there we've got the 12-hour candle, and we can see that actually it's also sitting on the 12-hour 20 and 10 EMAs together, which is probably why it hasn't moved very far down, because it's finding that these are causing it to stop moving down. They're strong support areas. So difficult to say what's going to happen with it. Let's go into the 6 hour and see if the 6 hour can tell us anything. So here we have the 6 hour, and today we've had about two 6 hour candles, and once again, it's lying right on, the price is lying right on the 6 hour 20 EMA and the 50 EMA. So, pretty difficult to say what's going to happen. Shall we go into the hourly? Let's go into the hourly and have a look at, see what's happening on the hourly. Well, the hourly has got a kind of support area there, which ties in with what we've seen so far with the moving averages. So yeah, very difficult to say what's going to happen, but at this stage, we don't have any clear indicators of price moving any particular direction, up or down. So really, at this stage, I'm not really looking for any trades on the EURUSD. And you usually find that the pound USD is very similar to the Euro USD. They follow very similar directions. So I'm not going to show you the pound USD, but what I'm going to show you is I'm going to move into Bitcoin next. And we'll have a look at the same thing on Bitcoin. We'll look at the weekly and the daily and the 4 hourly and see if that tells us anything about the direction for the week for Bitcoin. So let's stop sharing that one and give me a moment and I'll bring up the Bitcoin. Okay, let's have a look at the Bitcoin chart, and we'll go to the weekly as well because we're on Monday and we want to see if last week has given us any indication of where this week is going to go. So let's share that with you. All right, here we go. So this is the weekly chart of Bitcoin. Now, you see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks Bitcoin went up. And in the last few weeks, it's kind of come down. But let's face it, that these green candles are a lot stronger than these red candles. So the chances are that it's going to keep going, it's going to reverse back up. That's the most likely scenario. But we don't really have any strong candle from last week. Here's last week's candle. Now, the week before that had a strong bearish pin. And true enough, for the next week, which was last week, price came down. Not very far, but it did come down a bit. Now, last week we had that pin there, also not a strong indicator, but it's more likely that price is going to go up, if not this week, then next week. So let's have a look at the daily. Okay, now these candles represent a day's movement, and today we've had a strong uptrend here. There's today's candle. So far, price has gone up quite heavily, but it's trading right into the daily 10 EMA, which is not a not a healthy sign for going up. It's also hit quite a strong horizontal resistance line here. You see over here, it didn't want to, it hit it, it went up to it and then came straight back down again. It went up to it again over here and came straight back down again. So this looks like it's a pretty strong resistance area. So what will have to happen is price is going to have to go up through it and come back down to it maybe and give us a signal here to go back up. So yeah, it's not a great place to trade from. Let's go to the 4 hourly. And yeah, I mean, that's the last 4 hour candle we've had. It's nothing to tell us really which way it's going. And let's have a look at the hourly. We'll have a look at the hourly candle, and yeah, over here, no great signals. So it's most likely that the price for Bitcoin is going to go up during the week. And the best thing to do is to keep looking at the hourly to see if the hourly chart gives you an indication of the time to put in trade to go long. Okay, so that's the Euro USD, that's Bitcoin. What are we going to look at next? I think we're going to look at gold. Well, that's been very, very hot recently. So let's have a look at gold. Give me a moment and I will open up my chart for that as well. Okay, let's have a look at the gold weekly chart to see what happened last week and see if that tells us anything about what's going to happen this week. So let me share my screen with you there. Okay, so here we have weekly candles, and you can see that price is just from there let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. Price just kept on going up and up and up and up in an amazing way. It's possible that it's become overheated or overbought. It's possible it might just sort of bounce around here to the side for a while. So let's have a look now. What happened last week? It went right up to here, and then in the last day, Friday, it kind of shut down to here. So this is obviously a strong resistance support area, which for gold became a support area. It came right back down to it and stopped there. So it's obviously a fairly significant place. The big question is it going to continue to come down? Is it going to bounce around there? Is it going to go up from there? Well, I guess the most likely scenario is it's going to bounce around on that line for a while. Let's have a look at the daily. I'll go into the daily and we'll have a look from there. So you can see what happened on Friday. Price came sharply down to that area that I was talking about. So what's going to happen? Well, we don't know. Let's have a look at the 12-hour chart. Pretty much the same thing on the 12-hour chart. The last 12-hour signal didn't show anything of any interest, really. It's very small. Shall we have a look at the 4-hourly? Let's have a look at the 4-hourly. And yeah, very small candles, so very little movement on gold at the moment. But what you can see on the 4-hourly is you can see 2 pins here. Now, normally 2 pins like that would indicate that price is intending to go back up, but they are pretty small and pretty insignificant. But I would say the likelihood now is you want to be looking for long trades. It's likely that price is going to go to sleep for a short while and then revert back up. It might happen when we have the US dollar announcements, because gold and the US dollar and the US economy are very much closely tied in. So let's have a look at the hourly, see if anything can tell us from the hourly. Well, here we have the hourly charts, and you can see very little happening there. In fact, price is under the 20 EMA on the hourly chart, which is not good for a long trade. So you find here that the blue EMA, which is the 20 EMA, is forming a kind of roof, a resistance point, stopping price from going up. So we really want price to break through there and then come back down and give us a signal on the hourly there to tell us that price has decided to go back up. All right, so that's gold. We don't know exactly at this point which way gold is going, but it looks, from the 4-hourly, it looks pretty much as if price is planning to head back up. Okay, so what's next? I'm not sure. Do we have any time? Let me just check our time. I don't want to run out of time. We are 24 minutes. Okay, I think we've got time for one more. And what's that going to be? Let's have a look at the most famous index fund, which is the US500, which of course is the 500 top companies in America. Let's have a look and see what's happening there and see if there are any indications of direction so that we can make some profit. So let's just give me a moment and I'll open up that chart. Right, are you still with me and you haven't gone off and got some coffee or something? Well, let's have a look at the US 500, because that's obviously not Forex, not currencies. It's a combination, really, accumulation of all the top companies in America. And let's see what, if any, we have any indication here of price movement. So I'm going to open up my screen for you there as well. So let's share my screen. Okay, so here we have the weekly chart of the US 500. Now you can see that over the last many weeks, price has been going up. It's been in a strong uptrend, and you can see that from the 20 EMA. This green line here is the 10 EMA, and you can see it's been rising very sharply. And what's been happening is that price goes down and up. You can see from this pin here that during that week, price went right down and hit the 10 EMA, which formed a kind of support area. It hit the green line and then shot back up again. And then the next week went up from there. And the week after that went up from there as well. And then the next week it came down a little bit and went back up. So what happened last week? Not much. There wasn't much movement. You see, the week before that, price came right back down to the green line again. So the 10 EMA on the weekly forms a nice base support area to look for trades. And then not much happened last week, and then, whoa, we don't really see any indication of where the price is going to go up or down this week from the weekly. Let's have a look at the daily and see if that tells us anything. No, it's pretty flat. We've got some pins here giving the indication that price will probably go back up, but nothing particularly strong. Let's have a look at the 12-hour. Just going up and down. You can see it's just going up and down, which is what's creating those pin effects. Let's have a look at the 4-hour. Well, here you've got 4-hour candles, and they are pretty unimpressive. They don't look like they are going anywhere, really. So let's go into the hourly and have a look at the hourly and see if that tells us anything. Not really. We can see that price has been coming up in the last hours, and you'll see that the blue and the green line have crossed over the brown line. Now the brown line is the 50 EMA, the blue line is your 20, and the green is your 10. And when they cross over, it's a good indication that price is going up. But we don't really have a signal here. These are very small candles, meaning that there's very little volatility. We're also heading into a strong resistance area here. If I were to draw a line along there, like that, I wouldn't want to trade into that. I would want to wait until price went over it. The only problem is we've got another one here. So I think I'm going to stay away from the US500 for this week because it's not really in a very nice place to trade. So let's go out of there. Let's go back into my screen. So then we have a look at the coming week. I didn't see much of encouragement except for gold. Now, I think if you want to concentrate on anything, I would keep my eye on gold and keep looking for an hourly chart that look as if it's heading up. So let's just go back to the gold. Okay, let me open up my gold chart. And here we have it. Now, what you see here is a trend line going up like that. You see the blue line coming down like that. So what's actually happening here is we've got like a flag effect. Price coming down, price going up. And probably what's going to happen, with, like most flags, is that price is going to sort of hover in between these two lines, the blue line and this line I've created myself from a trend line, creating a trend line. So what's probably going to happen is price is going to hit this bottom line here, this not horizontal, not vertical, sloping line. And then probably what's going to happen is it's going to break out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to be waiting for price to break out through here on the hourly and start a new trend. But at the moment, we're not really in a trend at all on the hourly. So that's how I see the coming week. Not a lot of excitement. Things might change when we have the US dollar announcement of CPI. But that's right at the end of the week. So what are we going to do? Until the end of the week, we're going to go on holiday, going to drink coffee all day. I would say keep your eye, my opinion is to keep your eye on gold, on the hourly gold chart, and see what happens if it breaks out of this kind of hitting between these two lines, the blue line and this sloping trend line. And it looks to me as if from the 4 hours the price is going to go up. Well, let's go out of there and let's see what happens. And then next Monday we'll review it and see what actually did happen with these various different pairs and gold and the US500. I haven't had time to look at oil, but nothing much seems to be happening with oil either. All right, so I hope you found that helpful, and just remember, help the channel by subscribing and pushing the like button, and maybe you'd like to make some comments too. You know, it also helps the channel. So if you found it interesting or boring, or you didn't like it, or you agree with it, or you want to make your own assessment of where price is going on these instruments, that'll be great too. So I look forward to seeing some of the comments, and I also look forward to seeing you next week when we come back and we look at the week ahead from there, and also go and do some review of this week. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best. Bye for now.
Artlist.io